you made clearly a conscious choice to not cast Michael Jordan as a character. And why did you do that? We never see his face.
Yeah, well, for a couple of reasons. One, I don't have the rights to make the Michael Jordan story. And the Michael Jordan, if you're going to convince somebody, if it's possible that you're going to be able to convince an audience that a different person than the Michael Jordan that everybody knows incredibly well because he's a kind of walking God on earth and a massive icon, you're going to have to get an actor like, you know, of the caliber of, like, I mean, there are very few. Denzel in Malcolm X. When that movie ended and they showed Malcolm X, I was like, oh, that's right. Malcolm X didn't look like Denzel. You know, like I thought Denzel was Malcolm X. You need a whole movie. You need a lot of work, and you need, like, you know, a career performance from a genius. And this also, you need the rights to Michael's story. Part of what this is about, part of what this company Matt and I are doing is about is, you know, the people that, and what Nike recognized in that deal. If you're going to create that kind of value, you should be compensated appropriately. You know, it's the shift from a kind of license fee to some ownership share. And that's why I thought, like, no one's going to believe me that some actor shows up in the middle of the movie and I go, hey, there's Michael Jordan. It destroys the whole movie because all of a sudden everything else is bogus too, obviously. You know, it all just, these illusions, like making a movie, most of the work is sustaining the basic illusion that what you're watching is actually real and happening, so that you invest yourself in it. That's the hardest part of it, to stop people from going, oh, I knew this would happen, or this is where this part, you know, where they disengage, but to actually connect them with people. And trying to sell anybody who's not Michael Jordan, the only person who could play it, the, you know, 23-year-old Michael Jordan turned 60 yesterday, and I can't afford him. And that's.
But you did need said Michael's blessing, correct? You had to.
I don't think the lawyers or anybody thought that, like, because he's not in it, and because I think, you know, as I can tell you, like, when you're a public figure, and I'm not of the. Not approaching close to Jordan public figure status. Nonetheless, there are, like, people are allowed to write things and say things and tell stories about you because you're considered to be kind of in the public sphere, the public domain, or the, you know, whatever the law is regarding that. It gives people some latitude to, you know, fair use and talk about your story. The truth of it was, I wasn't going to make the movie without knowing and first of all saying, hey, Michael, if you don't want this movie made, period, no matter what, like, I'm just done. Forget it. I don't need to do it. I don't for out of respect for you and who you are and what you mean, and out of the simple basic instinct of self-preservation. Like, the stupidest thing in the world would be to go out and make a movie which, you know, then Michael later discovers is being made and says, like, this is an outrage, get rid of this thing. Well, you know, that's just suicide. And so but I also was mindful that, like, we weren't paying him. This wasn't the Michael Jordan story. And so I didn't want to ask of him anything in terms of, hey, you know, work with me, give me research, blah, 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 you know, promote the movie. Like, I said, listen, I don't have to, you know, all I want you to know is if you tell me to just walk away and drop it, I will. And because I have to, and I was lucky to get him to sit down with me for an hour, frankly. And I said, look, if you, I need to compress this. I need to change details. When you tell a true story, a story inspired by true events, it's in less than 2 hours. You know, part of the function of telling that story is maintaining the essence of the truth, but it's not the literal truth. And everyone didn't say exactly those things, et cetera. You take liberties, but Michael, I won't, you know, I want to know what things are fundamentally important to you, where if they're truths that are violated, it just doesn't work for you. And it was a very, I think, tellingly, his only concerns were about others' inclusion in the story. It was like, Howard White should not be left out as an extremely important figure in this deal, an ongoing relationship, lifelong relationship with, like, Howard, of course, is still there, Jordan Brand, vice president. George Raveling, deal wouldn't happen without George Raveling. That was good for me to know, because this was after the Olympics that this story takes place. George Raveling was the assistant coach Bobby Knight on the Olympic team. For those of you who want to see on YouTube, there's a really great Bobby Knight talking about saying then, before he went to the pros, this is the best basketball player
that he's ever seen. And I've seen that where he says, in terms of being a competitor, athletic, he called it before he even
really
played
called it. And by the way, like actually later on after the movie, what I found out, I saw an article in Forbes magazine in 1984 that said, if you need look no further for evidence that Nike has completely lost its way than the fact that they paid $250,000 to an untested Michael Jordan who's never played a day of professional basketball. That exists. 250 grand.
That's a cold take. That's a cold take. Didn't last. Didn't age well.
Forbes was wrong.
Yeah.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.